Mike was started.
Good morning, everyone. Thanks for joining me on today's webinar, ePlan Retirement, What Does This Mean for You? A few housekeeping items before we get started. All of our attendees are muted for a clean listening experience. If you have any questions, please use the question box and we will address them at the end of the session, and maximize the GoToWebinar window for the best viewing experience. A quick introduction. My name is Mike Fiducia. I'm a territory manager with the Accordion Company, your Sage partner. And there's my contact information for anyone who already doesn't have it. Please feel free to reach out with any questions after our webinar concludes. If you haven't already seen the email from Accordion, Mr. Rob Napa retired at the end of last month after a long, successful career with Sage and Accordion. We wish him nothing but the best in the next chapter of his life. His calls and emails are being forwarded to me, so please reach out if you have any questions or issues. I'll make sure to take care of it. Let's review our agenda for today. We will go over Sage's announcement of the retirement of the On Screen Takeoff ePlan interface to Sage Estimating. We'll talk about the options you have as a Sage Estimating user, give you an introduction to eTakeoff's digital takeoff software, review the key differentiators between On Screen Takeoff and eTakeoff, followed by a live demonstration of the software, and conclude with Q&A. On October 6th, Sage emailed the announcement that the ePlan interface, which integrates On Screen Takeoff and Sage Estimating, will no longer be supported as of December 31st, 2020. So what does this mean for you as a Sage Estimating user? You will still have access to the ePlan interface and it will function as it does today. However, the product may cease to function with future releases of Sage Estimating. So how can you protect your investment in Sage Estimating? Let's take a look at that now. I would like to introduce everyone to eTakeoff digital takeoff software. It has a best-in-class integration with Sage Estimating. It's one of the leading 2D takeoff softwares in the market, which is their Dimension product. If you are moving to or have already started performing 5D takeoff, you can leverage the same integration tool to Sage Estimating that Dimension uses called Bridge to integrate to Autodesk Navisworks. Also, an amazing feature has recently been announced. I saw it in action yesterday and it was awesome. This cutting edge feature called Snap uses artificial intelligence to drastically improve the speed and accuracy of your takeoff. Guys, this is a game changer. Anyone who would like to learn more about this, please reach out to me so we could talk about what is coming. I'm really, really excited about this. Let's now talk about some of the key differentiators between the OnCenter integration to Sage Estimating and eTakeoff's integration. OnCenter is still recommending you convert PDFs to TIFF format. As many of you are probably aware, depending on the amount of drawings you have, this can take quite a bit of time. eTakeoff can read native PDFs, so you can load a large quantity of drawings in seconds, saving you valuable estimating time. OnCenter does not allow multiple scales per page, so on your details pages, you may have to copy that drawing multiple times to set different scales. eTakeoff allows you to set multiple scales on a single drawing, again saving you valuable time in your bidding process. Unlike OnCenter, eTakeoff is a multi-user product where multiple estimators can collaborate on a project at the same time. A big plus to eTakeoff is that you can leverage the powerful smart assemblies in Sage Estimating in Dimension using what eTakeoff calls extension variables. Even without Sage Estimating, eTakeoff combined with Excel provides a better takeoff experience. Another time-saving component in digital takeoff is the ability to use an auto count feature. A lot of users find OnCenter's auto count feature not that practical because it produces a count with no context. There's no multi-page searching, and you must stay on the drawing where the auto count is happening for it to process. eTakeoff's highly accurate patented pattern search auto count feature allows you to search an object on one or more drawings while continuing to perform additional takeoff. Having the ability to have multiple drawings displayed at one time to reference can improve accuracy and speed up takeoff time. Many estimators use multiple screens during the takeoff and estimating process. eTakeoff allows you to open an unlimited amount of extra drawing windows compared to just one in On Center. I'm sure by now you're sensing there's a theme of efficiency and accuracy with eTakeoff, and that's core to their philosophy in the development of products at the company. When you get a set of drawings that define specs used throughout the entire project, you can in eTakeoff define those at the project level, even create global favorites that can be used across multiple projects, and preload specs for different types of construction. In On Center, you cannot tag your Sage WBS codes, locations, or alternates to a takeoff. You're limited to areas and zones. Using Bridge, we can map those additional fields to Sage Estimating to give you better sorting abilities within your estimates. eTakeoff offers a documented 100% productivity gain in takeoff to estimate speed. The trace utility, where your Sage Estimating database is converted into traces or conditions as they are known in On Center, quickly reduces setup time by a factor of 10+. There is a complete bidirectional integration between eTakeoff and Sage Estimating for assemblies, the ability to drill down, manage changes, use WBS codes, locations and alternates, and BIM takeoff integration to the same estimate using Navisworks. There are two new Bridge enhancements that offer even more competitive advantages. One being the project backup, restore, and copy functionality that supports progressive takeoff, enables quick alternative takeoff options, supports multi-users, and provides immediate comparison reporting. The second being two different multi-user workflows. You can either have multiple estimators using multiple bridges to the same estimate, or multiple estimators using one bridge to the same estimate. Same end result, different ways to get there. So I've done a lot of talking. Now let's get into eTakeoff and show you how some of the features we discussed today can help you optimize your estimating process. So I'm going to go ahead and open Dimension, so that way you can see the speed in which a set of drawings will load up. So I'm greeted with a user ID screen again, because this is a multi-user product. My takeoff can be tagged to my user ID. I'll click OK. So as you see, my drawings automatically opened up. If I take a look at all pages, I have quite a few in this list. There's about 100 pages loaded up within seconds. The first thing you'll notice is that Dimension looks like a Microsoft Office product. This was done by design to give you guys a comfortable experience using the software, something that is familiar and easy to use. Another benefit to reading the PDF drawings is that we can zoom in to a drawing and our lines will stay very crisp. So you see I'm pretty close in on the drawing now, and all of our lines are still sharp. Another thing I want to show is something we talked about, where we can set multiple scales on a drawing. So most of these details are 1/2 inch to a foot, right? And my drawing is set 1/2 inch to a foot. But I do have one detail on here, my typical room module, that is 1/4 inch to a foot. So I can go ahead and draw a box around that area, and then any takeoff performed in here will adjust to the scale that I've set. But again, now if I want to go ahead and do takeoff outside of this area, it'll switch back to the other scale that was set. Now let's take a look at how we can use smart assemblies and leverage those using extension variables in eTakeoff to give you guys more visibility into your takeoff dimensions. So if I go ahead and select a slab and I go up to my foundation plan, if I select the trace, or again, condition as many of you are familiar with, you'll see on the right-hand side on my quantity list, I am met with a series of variables. Okay? The answers to these variables will help dictate my quantities and costs of materials and labor needed for this assembly. So before I start taking anything off, I can adjust these variables. So maybe I want to change the concrete strength. Maybe I want to change my placement method, right? And all of these variables are pulling from your assembly within Sage Estimating. So all of the same variables are mapped to eTakeoff. So take a look down at my reinforcement method. So right now it's set to wire mesh. And the subsequent questions are my wire mesh spacing and the wire mesh size. If we change this to rebar, you'll see that the next few variables have now changed to questions specific to rebar, right? The takeoff method, size, and rebar to concrete ratio. So I can go ahead now and actually we'll do a 2-point rectangle, and all we have to do is click the top left, bottom right corners and add that to our takeoff. Another thing I mentioned is having extra drawing windows open. So if I go to our View tab, I can click Extra Drawing Windows, select a drawing that I want. Let's just, for example, put the first floor. If I click this again, I can now open up the second floor. And then click it a third time, and we could do the third floor as well. Now, we could see that we have, and again, this is really helpful if you're using multiple monitors. Okay. So typically estimators are now having, anywhere from 2 to 4 monitors to help them in their bidding process and their efficiency. So now you can go ahead and split these extra drawing windows up among your different screens, but then keep the main project open on one monitor as well. Another really cool feature is our global favorites, okay, and project favorites as well. So global favorites, you can save if, like I change the variables on this slab, if I want to then use this specific defined variables throughout the entire project, I can go ahead and save that project favorites. That way, I now have these specific variables saved, and I can go ahead and do that instead of changing the variables every time I do a takeoff. I can also add them to my global favorites. So if it is a standard set of variables that is pretty common among our projects, like our exterior walls, if most of your walls are going to be 10 feet high, have the same furring thickness and spacing and so on, you can create that as a global favorite to be deployed across multiple projects in eTakeoff. Another really cool feature is if we go up, let's go up to our first floor plan. Actually, let's take a look at our second floor plan. You see that we have our exterior walls already taken off, okay? What I did was drag that over to my global favorites simply just by clicking and dragging. Not only did it save the answers to all the variables, but it also saved the exact outline of that drawing, or that takeoff, I'm sorry. So I can actually just come over here and drop it right over the other floor, right? And I can move this a little bit so it's right on par. But then I just went ahead, copied it to an additional floor. Now I have that takeoff done. So instead of having to go around point and click on an additional drawing, and if you have multiple floors, right, that could take a lot of time. So all you have to do is drag it over from your favorites, saving you guys a lot of time. Now what I want to do is show you our pattern search feature, which is really awesome. So we're going to go back over to our foundation plan. If I click this button, I can see the drawings that just have takeoff performed on it. So I want to take off my caissons. So what I'm going to do is go to my drawing tab. I'm going to click on our pattern search tool, zoom in. I'm going to draw a box around the object that I want to search. I will select my trace. So we're going to go up to foundations, special foundations, select our caisson. Now we're going to search the drawing for anything it believes is a caisson. So my pattern search box is down below. And as you see, it's already done searching the area. When you see your binoculars, that means your pattern search is complete. Now, again, one key difference is that if this was a very large drawing and there were maybe hundreds and hundreds of objects to capture, that may take a little more than a couple seconds. So what you can do is continue doing takeoff either on the same drawing or go to a different drawing and continue performing takeoff. Doesn't matter, it happens in the background, so you don't have to stay just on that one screen while it processes. So if I go ahead and double click on the search, it went ahead and found everything it believes to be a caisson. Okay, if there were some that were in question, it would have been white. But it looks like all of these are, and you can go ahead and double check all of these on your drawing. Make sure they all look okay, end your review, and save those to your estimate. Okay, so just like that, I added 232 caissons. And real quick, before we are able to save it, you see that I had this little red E. Right? This is telling me that I am missing an answer to a variable for these caissons. So I go ahead and select it. I can see I did not put the caisson length in, right? So we'll put these as 2 feet. Now you see that that E has turned black and it is added and everything is all good. So you would just continue performing your takeoff. Point and click features, it acts very similar to On Center or PlanSwift, where it's point and click, pretty simple. But pattern search and the integration to Sage Estimating is where the product drastically differs. So let's go ahead and send this takeoff over to our estimate. So I'm going to go ahead and start Bridge. And again, Bridge is the product that links eTakeoff to Sage Estimating. And not only eTakeoff, Bridge can also integrate Navisworks. So if you are using both 3D and 2D takeoff for the same estimate, you can use Bridge to send takeoff from both products to Sage Estimating in one estimate. So it's telling me that I don't have a bridge created at this moment. Would I like to create one? Yes. So we'll go ahead and give it a name. So this is the La Quinta Hotel. Now, if I had an existing estimate already created in Sage Estimating, I can go ahead and select it from here. But let's create a brand new one. So we'll give it a name, La Quinta Hotel. Now I'm creating an estimate without actually being in Sage Estimating. So I click OK. Now Bridge opens. I go over to my automatic mode. Now because we already have all of our database mapped to eTakeoff, all of my takeoffs are already pulled in because it's now linking a trace in eTakeoff to an item or assembly in Sage Estimating. Now, if I want to go in and review any of the details of a specific takeoff, it'll go ahead and highlight it in the drawing for me, and then also show me what is coming over into Sage Estimating. So if everything looks good, we'll just go ahead and let me make this a little bit bigger. We'll go ahead and send all of these quantities over to our estimate. So again, within seconds, 21 different measurements were sent over to our estimate. So now let's close this down and go into our estimate. Just like that, all of these items came directly from eTakeoff. Okay, and you guys are familiar with Sage Estimating, so there are different views, right, that we could take a look at it. Now I'm in a specific database called the B&I database, but here are all my assemblies, and you'll notice that in the top left corner of my takeoff quantity window, I have this blue caret. That's meaning that this measurement has come from eTakeoff. So what happens when you guys get a set of revisions, right? Something needs to change. Well, eTakeoff made that really simple. So let's say that this slab, the size of this slab has changed. You get a set of revisions. What we can do is drill down. It will select that takeoff in bridge and also select it on our estimate. So if I take a look at bridge, it's then over here showing you the bridge that we selected and we need to change. So if I click home, let's just say, for example, the size of the slab changed just for visual purposes and time. Let's just go ahead and drag that out. So now the area has increased to 770 square feet. We save that, go back to bridge, go into review. Let's refresh this. And now let's only take a look at takeoffs that have been changed. So now you'll see that the original area of this slab was just about 347 square feet. Now it's 770, and the perimeter has also changed. Let's blow this up for us just so we can get a little bit more visual. So before we send this, maybe what we want to do is write that this came from a revision, right? Amend the description of the assembly. Maybe we'll add a note, right? Changed. Okay. We'll accept those changes, send it over to our estimate, close this, go back to our estimate. And now you see that the description of that slab changed, the area has updated, and I also get a full audit trail of those changes. So I could view my past audit. Task 1 is the original quantity that was sent over from Sage Estimating. From eTakeoff. Task 2 is backing that measurement out. And then task 3 is our new measurement. And you can see my notes carried over here as well. So, that was a little bit about most of the features I talked about. I hope you guys saw some value. What I want to do now is turn it over to Q&A, and let's see if we have any questions in the box.
No questions right now. If you do have a question, please type it in. We'll be happy to answer it for you.
Don't be shy, guys. You guys are most of you are Power Sage Estimating users and have been using OnCenter for quite a long time. So I'd really love to hear some of your feedback on what you just saw in eTakeoff.
We have something coming in. Will this session be available to share with others?
Tony, yes. Yes, this will be shared once it is transcribed later today. It will be distributed to everyone that registered and or attended the webinar. So please feel free to share it with your colleagues. You know what it is?
That's all we have.
I think I just floored everybody with the presentation today. Everyone is speechless. Okay, give another 30 seconds, and if no more questions come in, I will give you back some minutes in your day that are, I'm sure, better spent otherwise than taking a look at some new software. All right, everybody. So no more questions, then we'll conclude. So again, I hope everyone saw value in what we covered today. I very much appreciate your time. We'll be reaching out to all who attended and signed up, following up with any additional questions. In the meantime, please feel free to contact me. Stay safe, everyone, and have a great rest of the day. Thanks so much.